Hi guys, hope you're all well and welcome back to another video where we will be taking a look at the brand new 13mm f1.4 APS-C lens from Viltrox. Now this lens was actually initially announced a few months ago and I was very excited when it was because I have been saying for years that the APS-C systems lacked a fast aperture ultra wide angle lens. Well, this covers it. It's currently available for Fuji X, Sony E and Nikon Z mounts. It offers a field of view equivalent of around 19.5mm on a full frame, which makes it a good option for landscape, street, architecture shooters and even potentially vloggers. However, despite it being an APS-C lens, it will also work on a full frame body. If you're a video shooter, say, with the likes of a a7 IV, then it could be a good option for shooting 4K 60 because that's cropped in anyway. You unfortunately can't get away with shooting the full frame sensor without suffering from blacked out corners because the projected image circle from this lens just isn't big enough to fully cover the sensor. However, it does project larger than an APS-C circle, which means you can get away with shooting on a full frame and then cropping in less than you would with an APS-C mode, and you then end up with a look that is wider than 20mm. Now, design-wise, rather unsurprisingly, this lens follows the same basic suit of pretty much all Viltrox's other lenses. A full metal barrel construction for a solid feeling build quality, and while there is no gasket on the back of the lens, Viltrox do say it has several sealing gaskets inside the lens for some dust and water resistance. I have no idea exactly how much resistance, but some is definitely better than none, but I wouldn't advise you take this lens swimming. Now the lens barrel design is fairly minimalist, with a manual focus ring taking up almost half of the barrel, then a declicked aperture ring that runs from f1.4 down to f16, both of which can also be controlled electronically through the camera thanks to the contacts on the back of the lens mount. The mount also has a USB Type-C port to allow for firmware updates. It comes with a metal lens hood which surrounds a 67mm filter thread, and the whole thing weighs upwards of 400 grams. So it's substantial for an APS-C lens, and fitted on my a6400 it does feel sizable, although not that front heavy thanks to the fact that Viltrox seem to have kept most of the lens optics towards the rear. Now, whilst not causing a huge problem for still shooters, vloggers might start to notice the weight of this after periods of prolonged shooting. Now, the STM autofocus is damn near silent and reasonably fast. It's probably going to struggle to keep up with any fast action, but then this isn't really the type of lens that people typically think of for shooting action anyway. And it's not really a macro lens either. I mean, it has a minimum focus distance of only 22cm, but because of the huge angle of view, it only has a 0.1 times magnification. Now, I did notice a slight quirk with the manual focus. The focus ring itself is smooth, well damped, and gives a linear focus drive. However, the distance scale appears to just be way off. The first 2/3 of the scale covers minimum focus out to about 1 meter. The scale then climbs very quickly from 1 meter up to 11 meters, after which it jumps straight to 79 meters and then straight to infinity. Now, to be clear, this is in relation to the displayed focus distance. It does not mean that the lens can only focus at 11 meters and then 79 meters. The focus still runs all the way through from minimum out to infinity. However, if you're someone who likes to manually focus and relies on the focus distance markers, then this could present something of an issue. Although in reality, I suspect that this is a software glitch that could easily be rectified in a future firmware update. Now, moving on to image quality. Sharpness wide open at f1.4 is okay but not great. Center of the frame is reasonably sharp whilst the corners are softer, and there is some noticeable vignetting in the corners. Stopping down to f2 yields much better results. Center of the frame is now quite a bit sharper, although the corners have made much bigger improvements, and the vignetting has been reduced quite significantly as well. And down to f2.8 gives great sharpness across the frame with minimal vignetting. Things stay strong from here until f16 when diffraction kicks in. Now, wide open, the lens does show some colour fringing, however lens flare is very well controlled. And whilst I haven't had a single clear night to actually test out chroma on stars, Using an LED light panel, the lens appears to keep the light shapes pretty well controlled, even right into the corners. And there appears to be almost zero distortion from this lens as well, which is frankly amazing. So overall, despite the image sharpness not being the best wide open, it is from f2 onwards, and overall optical performance from this lens is quite staggering, considering its rarity as a fast aperture ultra wide angle lens that will likely be retailing down around the £300 mark. Now currently at the time of recording, this lens has been available for Fuji X mount through Viltrox's website for a while. However, it is only just launching for Sony and Nikon, and is currently being run through an Indiegogo campaign until the end of June at a discounted price, before then presumably being sold through their own website at some point in the future. Either way, I will leave links to this lens in the description down below if you're interested in checking it out. And if you're an APS-C shooter wanting a fast wide-angle lens, then I highly recommend that you do check this lens out. But that is going to bring this video to a close. As always, if you have any questions, then please feel free to drop them down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed this video, then please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already done so, and then hopefully, we'll see you in the next video.